The Elvis Presley Conspiracy Program with Rives Elliott and John Brennan.
Hello, everyone. Good evening and welcome to the Elvis Presley Conspiracy Program. I am here, as always, with my co-host, Rives Elliott.
Hi, everyone.
We have our producer, Liz Shack. She gave us a bunch of information and questions. And we also have a very special guest here today.
Oh. Hey.
Honey, the mail girl
Yep.
from Monstervision.
Isn't that crazy? Oh, my gosh.
Well, you tell us how crazy it is.
I don't know. It's just wild. It's great. I love it.
Okay, so before we get into the oddities of what's going on and all that sort of stuff, because, you were there on that fateful day when all the things happened to us.
Yeah.
But before that, let's get into, you were there, right? So you remember, but let's get into how you started in the industry and things like that, how you got into Monstervision.
Oh, Monstervision. Well, Monstervision. I was very lucky, had a really great agent at the time, and I was doing a lot of acting, tons of commercials, some runway, a lot of print work, and I had a really good agent at the time. And the production company for Monstervision, Drive-In, whichever one was first. Gosh, it's been so long ago, I can't remember. But
it was the other drive-in show on
the movie channel.
The movie channel. That's right. So that was first.
Yes, the first one.
Uh-huh.
And they were looking for someone to do the Hubby Awards with Joe Bob. And I got the whole Vanna White thing going on, I guess. So they selected me, and I went in, and they dressed me up in this really bright red, shiny cowgirl, like something you see on Hee Haw or something like that, and with the fringe, and I don't know. They tried on all kinds of different outfits, but I think that was the one, big poofy 80s hair. And I stood there and giggled and acted super silly and did my Vanna White impression. So it was a lot of fun. They had me back the next year, I think it was. And then they decided to not do it or do something different. I forget the whole story behind it. But there was a lot of fan mail wanting to know where I was and if I was coming back. And so John reached out, and the production company reached out to my agent and talked to them, and they talked to me, you know how that goes. And they wanted to do something where I could be a regular on the show because they thought that that'd be a lot of fun and people would like it. And there was enough mail coming in asking where was I and what was going on. So he kind of threw some ideas out there and said, come on and let's kind of have some fun and see what we can do. And we did. And it was a lot of fun after that. We just did all kinds of silly stuff. I got an opportunity to be nice to Joe Bob, be mean to Joe Bob, to slap Joe Bob, to kiss Joe Bob. It was a lot of fun.
That's incredible. Now, yeah. I heard one quick rumor, because you were interviewed by Liz Shack at one point, who is our producer, that there was a connection to you getting into the industry that had Elvis Presley involved.
Oh, my gosh. Yes. Well, I love Elvis, of course, Well, if I go way back, that's when I was like a little girl. It was the 60s. That's how old I am. Don't tell anybody. But I used to wear go-go boots and mini skirts, the lime green and all that crazy, kind of funky stuff. And my favorite movies were all the Elvis movies, and I would watch them over and over and over. And of course, back then it was on television, so you kind of had to wait for it to come on. But boy, I tell you, as soon as I knew it was coming on, I'd watch that TV guide, and I was in love with Elvis. I had made up my mind I was going to grow up and be in movies so I could meet and marry Elvis. That was my plan.
Excellent. Did you ever get to see him in concert or anything like that?
Yeah, actually, I did. Not long before he passed away. I was about 11 and a half, I think. It was one of his last concerts. He actually came to Fort Worth, Dallas. He came to Fort Worth. And my grandmother bought me a ticket for my birthday. I got to go a little early. And we went and saw Elvis in concert. He was about this big. He was teeny weeny. So our seats were so far away from the stage, but heck, I didn't care. It was just amazing to be there. And I cried and I sang and I cried and I sang. It was pathetic. And then we found out he was actually staying at this rinky-dinky hotel motel that wasn't far from where my grandmother lived. And so we had to pass right by there on the way home. So we get this crazy idea. I don't remember whose it was, my mom or my grandma, that we were going to pull in there and wait and see if we could see his limousine pull up. And sure enough, we got there and there was probably maybe another 2 dozen people in the parking lot. And we sat there just for a little bit. And here it comes, this big, long, white limousine. And it pulls right up between all the people, and out stood Elvis, and I about died. I mean, I'm getting goosebumps right now. And there he was, standing right in front of my eyes. Before it was this big, wow. And now he was right there, like I could almost touch him. That's how close he was. And he waved at everybody, and then he went into the hotel. And so then, it's either that day or the next day, I forget when it was, I wanted to talk to Elvis so badly that I got this idea. My grandma says, well, call him. So I called the hotel and I said, can I speak to Elvis? And they're like, who is this? I said, this is Lisa. I said, first I take it back. I said, can I speak to my daddy? And they were like, well, who's your daddy, honey? And I said, Elvis. And they said, well, who is this? I said, it's Lisa Marie, and I want to talk to my daddy.
It's amazing. Pretended to be Lisa Marie.
So they literally rang me through to his room. And someone picked up the phone, and I said, can I talk to my daddy? And they go, who is this? I said, it's Lisa. And they're like, who is this?
Wow.
It's Lisa Marie. They're going, good try.
You may have been speaking to Hamburger
close.
James. Hamburger
James, one of the Memphis Mafia.
So probably had some sort of code name that I didn't have, when I called in, but I was that close.
So
Dang
close.
Yeah, so close.
That's an amazing story.
That is amazing.
When I got to go, I wanted all my life to go to Graceland, my whole life. And a couple years ago, I was actually stayed in the hotel, but it was during the COVID. COVID just broke out. And so we didn't stay and go to the museum and do all that stuff because everything was so, COVID-y mystery. And because it was March 2020. So I didn't get to go then. But I was told my daughter, I said, we are coming back because we're going to go see Elvis. And we did.
Well, and of course, that brings us to July 11th of this year when we all went to Graceland.
Yeah.
Right after the Joe Bob Jamboree.
Yeah. And I got to share a life desire with some wonderful, fun people. And we just had an absolute blast.
That's right.
Yeah.
Well, we were hoping maybe you could tell us a little bit about that day from your perspective and the events surrounding the spirit, the sighting that we had.
Absolutely.
In the trees.
Yeah, we had.
For those who maybe this is your first episode because Honey, you're a big fan of Honey, and you don't care who we are. We actually, when we were there on July 11th of 2022, we captured an orb in a picture that we took in the trees. And because we had already been talking about this other conspiracy where Chef Dez, he had captured the spectre of Elvis in the trees in 2019 in July. So there was this weird synchronicity going on, and it wasn't all about that day, but that's what it became. So like you've said, if you can, because of that, that's why we're talking about this. But you can do it from like whatever perspective you whatever reality tunnel.
Well, I mean, it was just one of those great days because it was the day after the Jamboree, and we'd all had so much fun. And so the hype, was still in the air, and everyone was excited. And so we all of us went to we all met downstairs, and a whole group of us went or whatever. But I just remember getting there and just as soon as we walked in, it's just like this vibe, this energy, and this goosebumps, and everybody was just so happy and positive to be there. I don't know. It was just this weird feeling like you wait your whole life to go somewhere, and there it is with amazing people, and I just, and it's going to sound so dorky, but I was hoping that something would come through, and you guys were all talking about this stuff and kidding around, and I'm like, yeah, right, okay, sure, and but then and my daughter's like, what are you talking about? Orbs, but I don't know. It's like I had goosebumps nearly the whole time I was there, and as soon as we walked into the mansion, I just felt something like almost, I couldn't figure out if I wanted to like cry or smile. It was just this weird emotional thing. And I just kept getting these goosebumps and being so close to all his personal belongings. And at some point I'd even thought, I said, the ghost of Elvis has got to be in here. He's got to be here, like watching all of us, And of course, in my mind, I'm thinking, of course, he's just happy I'm here, because I'm so special. I'm joking, of course. But anyway, it's just so cool because there's just so much stuff there that's his, and that that if his ghost was going to be somewhere, that's where it'd be. And then all you guys were like cutting up and talking about everything. And I was thinking, man, that would be so cool to see, an Elvis ghost like go by. And then we were over at that part where everybody's buried. And
yes,
I'm thinking,
yes.
Yeah, and I'm thinking, I wonder if they're really in there, like their bones and everything are in there. And my daughter's like, wow, this is weird. And Hannah couldn't be here. She had plans. But so we're all like checking it out. And then, you're telling the story about the elm tree and the orb and all that. And we're like, what? And so you go over there, start taking pictures, like, he's really going over to take pictures. And then you're like, wait, look.
But there was, if we're going to put it up on screen over and over and over again, there is something there. And whether it's a light leak or whatever, it just is too much of a synchronistic thing to happen that we had to explore these options. Yeah.
And it just kind of snowballed from there. And then you got everybody involved. Like, we're just standing around talking to people going, hey, look, there's the ghost of Elvis. And a couple of you are looking at you like you had lost your mind. And then that one lady's like, yes, I see it. And she just joined right in. It was hilarious. She was so cute. She was like some bubbly little blonde Barbie, adorable little gal. But
she was a true believer.
She was. I mean, she even says, oh, I see this, I see that. And I was like, man, let me look again. I don't know if I've ever seen that part. But there was definitely an energy there. I'm not going to lie. I mean, I could totally see where people have experienced something there, with no doubt. There's absolutely an energy there. I wish I had like my spirit box and everything with me while we were there. That would have been phenomenal. We'll have to go back. Take some ghost hunting stuff with us. I wonder if they'd let us film there. That'd be fun.
I wonder.
Now, I'm curious about these spirit rocks, but before we get into that, I think you had an experience. You and Hannah had an experience on the bus at Graceland after we took the photo and we were showing it to people. If you remember, there was a lady that was a little more skeptical that we showed the photos to, that got a phone call that said scam likely. And your daughter, Hannah, I remember she had, I think is a spectrometer, I think is what it's called. She has some,
it was like a ghost app.
Oh, yeah. The ghost app. Yes, she did have it on. That's right. You're right. Oh my gosh. And I don't remember what it said. Did I take pictures? I'm going to look back in July. You guys.
Well, if you do find those pictures, we'll put them up here because Hannah was getting messages from the other side at that point. Yeah,
she was. She's totally into all this stuff. She got spooked out recently. We did some ghost hunting in Clinton, Tennessee.
Oh,
and we got some really nasty spirits coming through, and they were hateful. I mean, they were something, and she got spooked a little bit. So I don't know.
Well, that's something that we'd also like to ask you about, is not just your experiences with this moment in the spiritual realm, but what about other moments in the spiritual realm throughout your life? Did you ever experience ghosts, demons, the things from the other side?
Yeah, I have. I've had all kinds of weird experiences. And I don't know if I told you, but I recently had one that um I'm looking, sorry, I'm trying to do multitasking here. I'm looking at my Elvis stuff here, but it doesn't look like she took any pictures of the actual app that day. I've got pictures of Elvis though, like that was on the
Oh,
wall.
yeah.
Oh, there you go. And
Wall.
guess what? Wooden frame
Wooden frame. Sort of a metaphor for being captured
inside the wood.
inside the wood. It's everywhere you look, folks. It really is.
It's everywhere you look.
Okay. Oh, and Liz is in this one with me. And yeah, Liz is in that one. She's down here at the very bottom. Like,
our producer,
goodness.
Liz Shack.
There you go.
Excellent.
Yeah.
Excellent.
So yeah, looks like we didn't capture any pictures of that. Or if we did, I may have sent them to Liz. What was I going to say? What were we talking about? I got decided.
Other experiences with the same.
Oh, the one recently. Oh my God, that was like totally freaky. All right. So I have a friend who came to me and was telling me, you know, some stuff that was going on in her life, and I talked to her for a while, and then then one night, this has been what, maybe a couple months ago at most, about 3 a.m, you know, and that's kind of the witching hour around then. And I heard someone come into my room, my bedroom here in this room, and it woke me up. But I was so out of it that I couldn't really, you know, like you're just out of it. And I thought it was my daughter, so I was like, "What's wrong, honey? What do you want?" You know, I'm like, "What do you want? What, honey? What do you want?" You know, I just kept asking her, and she wouldn't answer me. And so then I was getting a little irritated. So finally, I kind of leaned up and opened my eyes. I'm like, "What do you want? Talk to me," you know. And she didn't say anything, but I could see a figure standing at the foot of my bed, just to the side. And so I kept squinting, like, "What? What?" And then all of a sudden, it moved forward, like it was trying to reach and touch me or something. Oof. And then it just kind of, because it was just kind of like a shadowy figure, because, you know, it was dark. There was a little bit of backlighting behind it. And so by this time, I'm getting a little cranky because it's the middle of the night, you know. And so I'm like, "What do you want, honey? What?" And then I see it coming for me. And so I'm like, "What?" And then it just started like pixelating and falling away and fell like, just like crumbled downwards. And I thought, well, that was weird. And I started going, "Am I awake? Am I dreaming?" Like I was asking myself, "Are you asleep? Are you awake?" And I thought, okay, that's weird. So I just like, okay, I'm good. I'm going back to sleep. I'm like, I don't know who it is, but I'm going back to sleep. So I went back to bed and I was out. Well, the next morning I woke up and I thought, well, that's really weird. I wonder if I should tell my daughter because it's so spooky. So then I tell her on the way to school. And she's like, "Mom, that's weird." And I'm like, "Yeah, it's kind of odd, isn't it?" I said, "But I'm telling you, there was someone in my room." And I get to my office and I'm sitting there doing some work. And all of a sudden I start getting this barrage of text messages. My phone just starts blowing up. I'm like, holy smoke, who is it? And I look and it's my friend. She was like, call me. This is blah, you know. So I was like, "What is wrong?" She said, "Well, we saw this gray shadowy figure in the house. My daughter, she's a hairdresser. So she was cutting her hair and she has like a mirror in front and a mirror behind. So she could, you know, spin people around, whatever." And they were cutting her hair and all of a sudden this shadowy figure goes by behind them. And they kind of like, "What?" You know, and they look, and then they're Virgin Mary, they're Catholic. So the Virgin Mary then like falls over or does something weird. And they don't know what's going on. So then that night they go to bed and her daughter, the one that saw the shadowy figure, wakes up halfway through the night around 3 a.m, screaming that there's a demon under her bed. And she saw red eyes and a black figure under her bed, and it was trying to get her, and it had big teeth, and it was trying to chew at her and grab her from under the bed. And so her mother had to console her or whatever. And the next morning is when she's blowing up my phone. So she drops her off at school and then she starts blowing up my phone. Well, I had to go over to her house with my little spirit box app and some sage and crystals and a cross and all that junk. And we start asking it who it is and what it wants. And it says its name is Nathan and he's there for salvation. And we got all kinds of stuff, and everything made a lot of sense. And then when we went up in the room, we got some other messages up there as well under the bed. So we sage and, pray over that room. And then it's really weird because it said something about a priest and Mexico and some places. So she's Mexican, and they're Catholic, and she had just been on the phone with her Mexican Catholic priest prior to me walking in. And so she said, well, that's how come that's all related. And then it said alley, and it said hurt, scare, teeth or something about the alley. And I said, do you have an alley? And she says, well, we call this the alley. It's not really an alley, but we call it that. That's what we refer to it as. And I said, oh, okay. So let's go look in the alley. So we go outside, and so she walks over to the window, and she's showing me, she goes, this is what we call the alley. And I said, well, we should go out there. Well, about that time, the same time, she looks, and there's this guy walking up. And he has this long, black, curly hair, nice looking guy, young, I'd say early 30s. And he's walking up. And she goes, there's some guy out here. And I was like, what? And so she pops out on this back patio, and she goes, can I help you? And he starts talking to her, and he's walking forward towards her. And then I hear his voice. So I jump up and go over to the door, and I'm looking out, and I'm giving that look like, dude, what are you doing here? And he jumps back, literally about 2 feet, jumps back, and he looks at me and goes, never mind. I don't want anything. I'm good. I'll find my own way. And he turns around and does an about face and disappears.
Oh,
disappears in the thin air.
No, he disappears. He goes and gets in his car, which was parked.
Okay. Okay.
Yeah, no, not a poof like that.
I believe it at this point. At this point in the story.
Yeah. But it was weird because why did he suddenly jump back when I appeared? He must have been up to something not good. But anyway, it was really cool. So then, it kind of got me thinking that night. I was like, gosh, that guy that visited me, because I just had the impression that, after thinking about it, it was actually it was more of a neutral shape form, but it just seemed to have more of a masculine feel to it after I thought about it. So I think it was because the spirit that was talking to us in her house, because there was this one area that I went to, the house, it just went red, and it was saying all kinds of things, like it said something like Satan and I don't know, it had all these really negative words, and I wish I'd saved them. I took 2 pictures of them and sent it on the app. All these negative words popped up. It went totally red. All these negative words popped up, and I said, this is weird, because every time I come to this part of the living room, this pops up. She goes, oh, well, because then it said below or something beneath or something like that. And I said, is there something under the house? She goes, oh, yeah, there's an old storm cellar right there where you're standing. There is something down there. And so I think later that night, her husband, when he came home, she was telling him and showing him, the stuff and telling him all the notes and everything. And he said, do you want me to go down there? She's like, no. So she didn't let him go in there. But the Nathan, the spirit said that, it was like a farm and harvest. And he kept talking. So we're talking about, are you trying to harvest your farm when you were here? Or is there some soul harvesting trying to go on here? And you're like, what kind of harvest are we up to?
Yeah.
So a lot of things kind of had this weird possible double meaning. And so we weren't really sure. But it was spooky. That was for darn sure. So that has happened recently. And then after that, Hannah and I went to, we've gone on 3 different ghost hunting hunts. And we went down to Madison, Indiana. And everything was closed that weekend because they were having a big art festival the next morning. Because this was like a Friday night. And we were just walking through town. And there was this haunted old stable and a haunted bar. Actually, it's the oldest existing bar in the state of Indiana. And it's a bar and a restaurant, maybe an inn, I think, hotel now. But it's the oldest because the bar part of it is back from the day because they're right there on the river, on the Ohio River. And so it was one of the first bars, and it's one of the oldest. It is the oldest still existing bar. So people used to get off their ship and come to this bar, or either they come there to load up the ship with their, goods, and people would come to this hotel and bar. So there was a lot of this rumor that there were a lot of ghost sightings and paranormal sightings there. So we weren't able to go in because they were closed because of the next day, but we stood outside. And it was freaky. It was like we were looking in the windows trying to figure out what kind of place is this, and it said something like, "Smile, I see you," and stuff like that. So we were like,
Oh, wow.
oh yeah, it was so spot on.
Oh.
And we were just using this app we downloaded. It was so spot on that it was crazy. And then it told us something about, it said the word butterfly. And we're like, what butterfly? We don't see any butterfly. And then it said heart. And then it said something about fear. And so we kind of piddled around there, and it said different things, and it was all pretty relevant, most of it. And then we walked up to the light and started walking down the street into town. It's such a beautiful town. If you guys have never been to Madison, Indiana, it's an amazing place to go. It's really quaint. And so we start walking. We go through this one building. We didn't get a much read on the outside of that building. But then we came to an alley. And my daughter's friend stopped and said, "Oh my gosh, look up." And there was this ginormous mural with this heart with butterfly wings coming out the side. And it said, "Fear not."
Oh my God.
Yeah, it was really crazy. It was crazy.
That's an amazing app that it would really tell you these words. It really works.
And it was just giving us like one word. So, it's like, how, you're thinking, how accurate is this? And what does it mean? It's not super clear that if it's really talking to you until something like that would happen. And it'd be like so spot on. And then later that night, we went to a cemetery. And as we're pulling in the cemetery, it starts going off, of course, right? And then it starts talking about it says the word veterans and soldiers and all these different kind of more like military terms. And so I stopped and I said, "Oh, look over there." And we saw this one section that had these long, like several stones, matching stones. They were white, and there were multiple rows, and there was probably 20, 30 deep each one. And there was probably about 3, maybe 4 rows each. And my daughter goes, "Wow, look at them. They're all matching." I said, "Well, they're probably veterans." And then it said, "Yes, veterans."
Oh,
it was like
he
crazy.
was listening.
And we're like, what the hell? And so they get out and they start looking at it all and asking it questions. And it came out that the spirit's name was Paul, and he was a veteran, and it starts talking. I mean, it was just talking. And then there was this real spooky corner over there. And I told him, I said, "No, we're not going over there." I said, "We're by ourselves. I don't have a gun. I don't have any friends. No one. It's something crazy. We're not going in that dark corner," because it really was off.
Yeah.
From the end of the cemetery, off in this dark corner. And I'm like, probably not good for us girls to be going over there. But yeah, every time we go out and we use the app, and I'm going to invest in something really nice, I think, but because the accuracy is just phenomenal. And then we went to Tennessee and did some ghost hunting there. And we went to a cemetery and we got some interesting things. But it's funny because the night before I left, or what's the night we got there? It was the night that we got there, because we went the next day. I was about to fall asleep, and all of a sudden I got this vision of this, and I mean clear as day vision, in color, everything. And it was from about you could see the knee down to the foot. And it was this rotting leg, like a rotting leg. And it had holes in it all the way to the bones, and you could see tendons and muscles and worms and stuff coming out. It was like this rotting leg. It was so creepy. So when we were out there, I was trying to find out like who sent me the vision, where'd it come from, but we never got a response about the rotting leg. But when we were at the cemetery, we did have one spirit came through, and it turned out that I think it was a soldier also. And he told us his name, and I can't think of it. I'd have to go back and look. I've got all the video, but it was really fascinating. And then the next night we went to Clinton, which is just north of Knoxville, out in the country, little town, teeny weeny little town, but adorable. Another touristy kind of town, a lot of cool shops and everything. And one of the ladies who owned a building there, her and her husband own it, they were talking about seeing spirits all the time. So they welcomed us to come in. And we went in and we spent the evening and we went from room to room. And we did go in one room. Apparently, this particular building used to be a speakeasy, a brothel, a hotel, some halfway house, and some, I don't know, some different various things. And we we got a hold of, so there was a dozen. They told us there was a dozen of them in the attic. That's where they were staying. But because we went in one room, which was the main room that like the madam, I think, or the head prostitute's room was at one point in time. And it still had a very feminine energy in there. And the first thing it said was above, I think it was. And so we're looking up and we're like, well, what's above? And of course, it's nothing but a roof, a ceiling. And then when we went out in the hallway, we looked up and I said, oh my God, there's a giant hole in the ceiling right there, right outside her bedroom. Because there was two doors going in that bedroom. So we went in one and came out the other. And oh my gosh, it just went crazy. And they, the crew, a couple of the guys that were on the crew, one of them, Brian, which you've met, Brian, he, or you did a podcast with Brian. He was filming and he had on one of those talking spirit boxes that uses the radio frequencies to talk to you. And it called our sound lady, her name is Julie, really sweet girl. It called her out and said, Julie. I said, yeah, that's Julie. He said, Julie's a C-U-N-T.
Whoa!
Whoa!
Yeah. So and it was clear as day. I mean, clear as day.
Damn!
Goes
Yeah,
a little
Julie
rude on the
goes,
other side.
I know. And Julie goes, excuse me, you don't even know me. Don't call me names, And then, they were not nice. And at one point, they told us that they were white men. We're like, oh, well, thanks for clarifying. They were white men. So I'm thinking these are spirits that, are these low class white guys that hung out in this brothel back in the day. And a couple of them gave us their names. I don't have notes on me, but a couple of them gave us their names. We asked them which side they were on, left or right. And they didn't want to answer. But he said Legion, which is the answer.
Oh my God.
We are Legion. That's demonic.
Yeah. And that's when Brian started getting panicky. He's like, these are not nice. They're demons. We need to go.
Yeah, my butt cheeks are clenched up right now real good. That's some scary stuff.
And so my daughter started getting like this heavy feeling on her. So I had to like put my arm around her and pull her in and tell them to go. And they were being really rude. Oh, they started being really rude. And they were funny. One of them had like a really funny sense of humor. He was laughing all the time. And one of them was heckling us. And they liked music. So they would literally play pieces of songs. So there was like some country songs, some techno music. There was some rock, a lot of rock songs. And so we asked him why. And he was like, why not? We like it, and then we said, well, did you ever in the band? Or, we were just asking all these random questions. And he said he used to play. And then Brian, he started talking to Brian. Because he started talking about Brian and describing Brian. Brian goes, yeah, that's me, And so they were talking about playing the guitar. I mean, it was nuts. There was like conversations going on with these spirits. Yeah. So my daughter started getting a little spooked, and I said, and they were being really rude. And so once we knew that they were demonic spirits, that I told them, well, they got to go. I said, y'all are rude and we don't want to talk to you anymore. So we shut that down and we went into another room and did some stuff. And one room was flat. There was like no energy in there at all, which was weird. And then we got another room and it kind of went off again. But then when we were coming back to leave and we had to pass through that area again, we had some cameras in that bedroom, that original bedroom. When we got in there, they had turned on and off 5 times. No one had been in there.
Oh, so the ghost.
But there's no visual. It just turned it off, turned it back on, turned it off. So we asked it, like, what's going on? And it said video, it said audio, and different things. Oh, it called on, it said something about tampering with the audio. So it was messing with Julie's audio stuff. And then, when he first turned it on, it was funny because it had been off. So we had it off, and we went in there, and I was walking in, and I heard footsteps in the bedroom. So I stopped. I said, wait a minute. And I said, I hear something. And they're like, well, I go, there's footsteps in there by the over where the camera was. And so his name was Jordan. He turned his on. And the first thing out of it said, she's a bitch. He's standing there with me because I'm the one that told him off already and made him shut it down. So as soon as he turned it on and Jordan was standing next to me, the first thing it said was, she's a bitch.
Damn.
I mean,
these dirty mouth demons.
They were not nice. Yeah, they were not nice. They were not nice.
Unbelievable.
Yeah. And so then we were asking about it because the camera had been turned on and off 5 different times and no one was in the room. So it was a lot of really cool stuff. I mean, they were not nice. They were really these rogue guys. The most energy that I personally felt like on me, I was really drawn to go to the end of the hall towards the back. But when I went down and opened the door, it was steps that just went straight down into the alley. So when I asked the owners of the building, they said that is where they believe the old entrance to the speakeasy used to be, is in the alley under the steps, because every once in a while they'll see a mouse or a rat come out of the drain, and it has playing cards and chips and piece fragments of glass and pottery. But they haven't excavated it to find out what's under there. And I'm like, man, if I owned this building, that would have been the first thing I did. I was like, dig a hole. I want to know what's in there. So, yeah, it's pretty cool. It was a really good experience. Now I just need some help putting all the video together so I get it up on YouTube.
There you go.
Yeah. So, honey, I mean, you use, of course, the Spirit app when you're ghost hunting, but it sounds like you're also a sensitive. And so you're actually able to feel the energy of ghosts. You can see them. What are all the ways you can sense a presence, I guess? Do you ever get like phantom smells?
The weird thing is that every time it's different. Every experience is different. You know how some people say that they kind of do things one way. Like when I first bought my house, the first couple of years I was there. Now it stopped, but the first couple of years I was here, sometimes I would walk into my living room and I'd walk through this. It was like a column that went from the floor to the ceiling. It was probably, I don't know, about this big around. And I'd pass through it going to like the closet or something. And it would be really cold and it would smell like cotton candy.
Delicious.
Oh, wow.
Yeah. And it would happen every once in a while, which is just really weird. And there was like the air conditioner wouldn't be on. There was no candles burning or anything of that nature. It would just occasionally appear. And then there was another place in the same area that was a little further away, about 4 feet from that spot. And I would get a similar sensation where there would be like this cool area, not quite as cold, but a cool area. And it would smell like greasy hamburgers.
Again, delicious. I'm loving this. I'm loving this.
So it was just this weird vibe that just made me think like the smell, like, because it was hamburgers, like someone sweating out that smell was what.
All right. Well, that's not as delicious as I thought.
So, I don't know. It just gave me a vibe of a man and a woman. I don't know why. I could be wrong. But another weird time years ago, when I was waiting for my house to be built, I was actually staying a couple months with some friends while they built my house. And we were all sitting in the living room. We'd been watching some television program or something, and we're all chit-chatting and, philosophy, like talking about it and trying to be philosophical or whatever, college students. And all of a sudden we started smelling popcorn. We're going, and I said to, whoever, and I said, "You popping popcorn? No, we thought you were." No. We went in there, no one was popping popcorn, but it was absolutely 100% popcorn throughout the kitchen and the living room. And we couldn't figure out why. I mean, it was just this odd thing. I mean, so strange things like that happen to me all the time. I mean, and it's like random. I was in a dollar store once, and my daughter wanted to buy. She was really little, and back then I'd buy cheap shampoo because pour half of it down the drain, playing in the bathtub or whatever. And we're standing there, and she's looking at them, and I'm saying, "Oh, those look good," or whatever. And all of a sudden, a bottle just flies off the shelf and lands on the floor down by our feet.
Well, that sounds like a poultrygeist activity.
It was crazy. I'm like, okay, I think we need to go on another aisle.
So this stuff really finds you. It comes to you, this kind of activity.
It's really weird. Yeah, I have to be careful.
Wow.
So do you have any thoughts about, I mean, obviously we have our theories about the Elvis stuff. Do you think that there could be some sort of a truth to it, or do you think it's a light leak? Do you think what do you think?
Well, like I said, when I was there, I definitely felt something, I mean, I wasn't kidding. And that was before we all started really joking a lot about it. I felt something. I mean, Graceland was a place that Elvis bought for his mom, who passed away. And then he passed away and was there, and I felt something there. I couldn't say who or what, but yeah, I actually felt something weird there. And then there was other things too when we were in Graceland, because we had the spirit app thing on, and there was other weird stuff going on. I don't remember. I wish Hannah was here because she's got a better memory than I do, but there were other little weird things going on. And I did feel something. I just don't know what. And
how
then
would you describe the energy? How did the energy feel exactly?
Popcorn? Not like popcorn?
Smell like popcorn?
No, I didn't have any weird smells. I didn't get any
fried banana sandwiches.
I didn't get any negative vibrations or any weird smells. I don't remember being drawn to anything in particular. I did feel something kind of odd when we were down that one room. It was kind of like his TV room.
Oh, yeah.
With the stripes on the wall. I don't know why, but I felt anger in there.
Oh.
Anger.
Well, he did, shoot a television with a gun.
Yeah, and I was wondering if that TV was originally in that room.
Yeah, and supposedly the rumors are that there was a tree on the TV set when he shot it.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Interesting.
The connections are all there. I mean, you're going to ask, how can we connect your personal ghost stories to this conspiracy theory? Well, one way, your friends are Catholic with the Virgin Mary. Guess what? Jesus was a carpenter. Wood. Right?
Wood.
Crucifix. Wood.
Yes.
It's all there.
It's all there. It's all back to the wood. It's all about the wood.
It probably is all about the wood. Well, this was an amazing experience. Yeah. Any wrap-up thoughts, whatever you want to talk about, if you want to promote anything or say anything more about the spirit realm, anything that comes from your reality tunnel.
Oh my gosh. Well, I just enjoyed so much being there with you guys. We had so much fun, and I can't wait to see what you guys do with all this stuff. And I'm hoping to eventually get this this video put together, because Hannah and I are doing a YouTube page, which it's not going yet, but it's going to be because it was her idea. So it's Hannah and Honey Hunting the Paranormal. She wants to hunt ghosts, and I want to hunt aliens and anything else we can, Bigfoot or whatever we can come up with. So we'll see how that goes in time. But we're working on that, and maybe we can do something, about Elvis again.
Well, yeah, eventually we have to go back to Graceland and do a seance to contact Elvis in the tree,
Hey,
see if we can reach out.
Oh my gosh, that would be so cool with the other app, that actually speaks to you. That runs through the dang, my mind just went blank. All the radio stations. It's really cool.
Oh, okay. Yeah, I don't think we can do it without you. We need both you and Hannah to come with us. Another trip to Graceland.
Yeah, and I hear that the Jamboree is going to be in Vegas this year, so hopefully I get invited back to that because maybe we could find something interesting to do out in Vegas.
Yeah, that's what I heard, and there's also a huge Vegas connection with Elvis, obviously. So,
well, yeah, we've got to go over to which hotel was he at? The oh gosh, my mind just went blank. Not the Flamingo. Oh my gosh!
See, you can tell we haven't done that much research yet because we don't even know.
It's been too long. Well, I saw the Elvis movie recently. Did you guys go see the Elvis movie?
Truthfully, I started the Elvis movie with our producer Liz Shack, and we turned it off after about 15 minutes because it just was too much. It was so overwhelming. The movie seemed like it started in the middle. It was so ADD and so, but I think that was what they wanted to do, was overwhelm you and just bombard your senses. And our senses weren't ready to be bombarded yet.
Oh, I see. Well, the cool thing is they talk about in there when that contract was made and it was signed on the tablecloth. We actually saw that tablecloth when we were in Graceland. That was in one of the rooms that we went to, and it was really cool. And I should know the hotel, but my memory's not good. But definitely want to go back and check it out. And so hopefully we'll be in Vegas. But I have my Facebook page, which is just Honey. It's a fan page. And then I have Instagram now, which I have someone helping me with Instagram and Twitter, which I'm not experienced on. And I think one is Honey the Male Girl, and the other one's Honey Male Girl. So, I've got my books, Horror Will Never Die, Movie Tracker, and Convention Tracker and Planner on Amazon. So you can find some books on there on Amazon. And some of them have my pictures on it, me and Joe Bob in our outfits from old days.
Amazing. We'll link to all that stuff. We'll put up all the pictures and all the stuff so that everybody can get to talk, to deal with you. But this has been such a pleasure. Thank you so much. We're going to have to do a follow-up with Hannah, of course, because she has the actual ghost spectrometer stuff. But this was a great, thank you so much for joining us. And I hope you are soon a true believer.
Oh, I'm a believer in the elm tree. So Elvis elm tree.
All right. Excellent. Thank you guys for joining us. We'll see you next time on the Elvis Presley Conspiracy Program.